All right, so we've crafted our different types of assignments, and in one instance I showed you our student view. We submitted an assignment, even though it was the wrong document for that assignment. It was a lab report, and I submitted a syllabus. But let's go ahead and see what would happen on the instructor side of things when students submit documents to you. So you may have noticed this in the previous videos, that this is now present. Okay, so we now have this icon that says Grade Lab Report 1. Now, just to let you know, if for whatever reason you don't see this here, that's okay. I'm going to show you other ways that you can access the assignments. Okay, but let's see what happens if we click on the link here for this Grade Lab Report 1, which is now in this new list that was added to the right-hand panel here called To Do. Okay, so if I click on this, it's going to take me to what is known as SpeedGrader. This is powered by Crocodoc. And I'll talk about this in just a moment, okay? But this is going to be a very, very powerful tool that you can use to give your students feedback. But before we get into this, let me jump back and show you what to do if for some strange reason you don't have access to the to-do list here. So for whatever reason, you lose this to-do list. What do? Well, it's very simple. You know that there was an assignment that you assigned, so you can either go to your Assignments tab or your Modules tab. It doesn't matter which. I'm going to go to Assignments, and I'm going to click on the assignment where I had the submission, so Lab Report 1. Okay, so I'm going to click on Lab Report 1. Here's the assignment, and you'll notice over here to the right, it now tells me that I have a student who submitted this assignment, and it's also telling me how many of these submissions I've successfully graded. So it says 0 out of 1 submissions graded. Okay. Well, what other options do I have in the right-hand panel? I've got what's known as SpeedGrader, which is where we just were, and I also have the option to download these submissions. So you can download all of your submissions right here. So if I had 5 students, I would download all 5 of those submissions simultaneously. Now, this is useful if you plan on grading those by hand and then distributing them back to your students by hand. But what if you want to just do everything in your browser? You don't want to have to go through downloading and printing and all of that. You just want to do it in your browser. Well, this is the beauty of SpeedGrader. So the student has submitted this file, and I now, as the instructor, want to grade it. So here we go. Okay, so you click SpeedGrader and it opens it up. And there's a lot going on here, so let me go ahead and explain what's happening here. So on the right-hand side here in this panel, you've got several options. First, you can actually assign a grade to this. So in theory, I'm not going to actually assign a grade until I'm done grading this. The second thing I can do is I can see comments that were left by the student, and if I want to, I can comment back. So this student says, this was a great assignment. I can say, well, you were supposed to submit a lab report. Why did you submit a syllabus? Obviously, I'm going to be very, very hard on myself because I submitted the wrong kind of document, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. You could actually submit, if the student said this was a great assignment, you could say, you know, something more along the lines of, I'm so happy you enjoyed it. Okay, so there we go. So I said, I am so happy you enjoyed this assignment. All right, so that's all well and good, but as you can probably see, these assignment comments don't actually line up with anything in the paper here. So if I could put whatever I wanted to over here on the right-hand side, I could attach documents and video and everything, but these aren't going to line up with the portions of the document that I want my student to pay attention to. So let's say that I noticed that my student did something here where they put the wrong course. Let's say this wasn't a 1406 course, let's say this was a 1408 course. Well, what I could do is I can come over here to the left-hand panel, and this is where all your really cool tools are. Okay, so if you hover on these, you're going to get several different options. The comment one is the really neat one. So here I can click on comment, and that's going to give me several different options. I can actually comment, I can draw, I can highlight, I can type text, I can even strike text out. So let's go ahead and start with the first option. I'm going to start with comment. So when you click on this little arrow here, you get several different options. You can put a point comment, an area comment, or a text comment. Let's go ahead and start with the text comment. I said that this student wasn't supposed to put 1406, it was supposed to be 1408. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, And then what you can do is you can highlight the text. It highlights that text, and then it brings over to the side here a comment that you can leave. So I'm going to say 1408 because this should have been a 1408 syllabus. Okay, all well and good. Now let's say that I also noticed down here that the student was supposed to do bar graphs, not pie graphs. So let's assume this was a lab report and the student didn't do the right kind of graph. Well, what I can then do is I can click on area comment and I can highlight all of this area right here by clicking and dragging. And then I can say these should have been bar graphs. Okay, and then the final type of comment you can leave is called a point comment. So let's say that there was just a lot of stuff going on. So let's say that I went somewhere down here and I found something that was wrong and I didn't want to use a bunch of the other comments. What I could actually do then is pick a point comment and I could just say, let's say that they should have just abbreviated this to info here. I know that's a silly comment to have, but I could say you should have put info here, not information. Okay, not the best example, but you can kind of see the three different types of comments in that case. Okay, so there are my comments. What else can I do? Well, if I want to just highlight stuff, let's say there's important stuff that I really liked, okay? I can highlight it, okay? And text comments work really well just when you're trying to correct maybe a word or two. But let's say there was like a long paragraph that the student had written. So let me scroll down here and let me just say there was a lot that was going on with this paragraph right here, okay? So I could highlight all of this, okay? And I'd say, yeah, sure, highlight that, okay? So I highlighted all of this. It actually highlighted more than I needed it to, and that's okay. Because now what I can do if I want to is I can just take my point comment and I could just then make a comment off of all of this. And I could say none of these paragraphs should be here. Move them farther down. But I really like what you wrote here. Okay, so there's that. And then let's say that I noticed somewhere here, grade distribution. So let's say in this title here, they didn't put all of the text that they should have. It should have been grade distribution diagram. Well, you can click on the text tool here, and then you can actually add your own text to their document. So grade distribution diagrams. And if I want to make that's really small, let's make it larger. I'm going to make it 18 point. And I can move this here. I guess I don't need the exclamation point. Okay, but that essentially shows you where you can add in text so the student can see what they should have had in addition to grade distribution. Okay, let's scroll down a little farther, and let's just say that the student added something that didn't belong here. So they shouldn't have put student 2 here. It's not really correct, but whatever. You can pick the strikeout tool, and then you can simply highlight the text you want to strike out. And when you release it, it strikes it out, and you can even put the text that should replace it. This should still be student 1. And again, you can resize. So if I wanted to make this a little smaller, then I could. And there we go. So as you can see, this is an incredibly fast way to mark up stuff. But we're not done. Let's say that there's a really big piece of this document that I absolutely love or that I want to bring to the student's attention. Well, you can take the draw tool here. You can change its color to whatever you like, and you can actually draw around stuff. And then again, if I want to, I can bring my point comment and boom, add a comment. Love this. So as you can see, this is an incredibly powerful tool that allows you to do grading in real time in the document that the student has submitted. Okay, so I've gone through this document. There's some stuff I want the student to change, but for the most part, I'm happy with it. I'm going to give the student an 85, and I'm going to click Submit. Okay. So I submit. It doesn't add anything up here, but it does formalize the grade, all that good stuff. I just like to click it to make sure that everything is hunky-dory and ready to go. Okay, so I've submitted that assignment. Now what? Well, let's go ahead and refresh here. So we refresh this page, and notice now it tells me that I have graded that. If I go back to my home page, The notification is gone. And now the last thing I want to talk to you about is what the student is going to see after you mark up their papers. So let's go to Settings, and let's jump back into the student view. I'm going to jump into the student view. All right, so I jump into the student view, and notice from the student view, I now get a notification about grades. So if I am a student, I click on this so I can go see my grades, and I now see that I have a grade for Lab Report 1, an 85, and here I can click and see comments. So I can see that I said this was a great assignment. I can see that the instructor responded with, "I'm so happy you enjoyed it." But you may have the question, where's all the feedback? And your students may not realize this either. They may just click here and think that's it. And from a student perspective, they may then be asking, well, how did I get this 85? If the instructor seemed enthusiastic about this, how did I get this 85? And so this is what you need to tell your students. After you've graded their assignment, they need to click on the title for that assignment. It's going to bring them to this page. Now, if the student downloads the assignment by clicking on the link here, when they go to open up that file, so let me go ahead and open this with Preview, they're not going to find any markup on it. And that's a problem. They're going to be even more confused. So what do they need to do? Okay, well, what needs to happen is instead of clicking on this, to get their feedback, they need to come here and click on View Feedback. This, from what I've been told, is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of students will make because they don't realize this is here. It's not a very pronounced button. So make them aware of the fact that once they have submitted an assignment and you've graded it and returned it, this is where they're going to come to see the feedback. So if I'm the student, I click here, and this is going to go ahead and bring up the file, and that's going to allow me, the student, to see all of the feedback that the instructor left me. So now I can actually go through and I can see everything that the instructor said to me, and that might help the 85 make a little more sense. And here's the cool thing. As a student, I can actually go back in and I can reply. I can say, this was not specifically stated in the rubric/syllabus. Can't believe I forgot to do this. So it again still extends even further the communication between instructor and student. And then the student can save when they're done with this. Okay, there it is saving. I can close. And then when I leave student view, come back here to the instructor view, and I can still view everything in the same manner that the student did. Okay. So that's how you can quickly grade assignments that your students submit, and that's how your students can view your feedback and then submit replies and responses of their own.